up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to Lifetime Metal. It's time for another edition of Thrash Metal A through Z, and we're going to start off with. We're going to go to the letter E in the just doing it in alphabetical order. So so far we got A through D. Now we're on E, and we're going to start off with EXUMER. EXUMERs were a German thrash metal band. I guess considered a second wave of thrash metal band from Germany. Don't really sound like, you know, your traditional German thrash. When you think of German thrash, you tend to think of Creator, Destruction, Sodom, that kind of stuff. But EXUMER, a more straightforward thrash metal, influenced by you know, bands like Exodus and Slayer and the LA and Bay Area kind of thrash metal. And that's what's actually playing in the background right now is this album, Rising from the Sea. This album is from, I can't remember the year. I should have looked that up before I started the video. It's from, I believe it's from like 89 or 90, somewhere around that area. But this band actually broke up for a while. In 2008, they reformed and started putting out more albums. This is another one now. This is called Fire and Damnation. And this album is from, here. Should look these things up before I start, right? 2012. And they really continue in the same style that they've been playing since the beginning. Just straightforward, vicious thrash metal, biting, you know, machine gun riffing, fast tempos, you know, vicious guitar solos, shouted vocals. It's just exactly what you want when you think of thrash metal. So yeah, German thrash metal from EXUMER. And then after that is, let's see, what we're going to do next. Next up we got, this is a band I just recently discovered. I was sent a CD single in the mail. This is like a very independent looking release, CD single from the band EXUMER. And this is more of their blackened thrash. So it kind of has this real extreme black metal vocals on GER Records, which is the same label that Resurrection band, Crash Dog, a bunch of bands on that label. I believe that label's out of Chicago, Japuza, and it's kind of an interesting release. It comes in this, you know, fold-out paper. Comes with a download card, and this is the cover. It's just simply an 8.5 by 11 fold out. And there's the CD itself. And like I said, more extreme thrash metal, very heavy, very fast, and definitely has some black metal influences to it. But definitely not black metal, but black-end thrash is how I would describe it. Very, very good band. Looking forward to checking out more from these guys. This is only 2-song CD, so first thing I've ever heard by them. Alright, next up we've got some California crossover thrash from EXILE. These guys kind of have that early Suicidal Tendencies, maybe Agnostic Front kind of sound, you know, very hardcore-ish in their thrash metal approach. Not quite the same machine gun riffing that you would hear from, you know, a band like EXUMER, but more like Suicidal Tendencies, you know. Lots of fun, goofy, political, exactly what you think of when you think of like Suicidal Tendencies. So if you like Suicidal Tendencies, check out EXILE. Alright, next up we've got, what are we going to do next? I got a pile of bands here. Let's go with EVILDEAD, which is a band formed by some ex-members of Abattoir, which I showed in my Thrash Metal A, and Agent Steel, which I think I also showed in my Thrash Metal A. This is EVILDEAD. And these guys were around in the late 80s, early 90s, and they released, as far as I know, these 2 full-length albums, as well as a live album and some EPs and demo material. I also have an EP on vinyl, and just great, straightforward thrash metal. Features Juan Garcia on guitar, who like I said, was also in Abattoir. If you like Abattoir, check out EVILDEAD. A little more vicious, a little more biting than Abattoir, but still just, you know, California thrash metal, LA thrash metal. What can I say? It's exactly what you would expect from you know, guys like Juan Garcia, Abattoir, and Agent Steel. Melodic a bit, but still very heavy, very vicious. Lots of machine gun riffing, you know, that chugging E-string stuff. Thrash metal. So yeah, check it out. EVILDEAD, they're all over Facebook, they're all over YouTube. So check out YouTube for EVILDEAD. I'm not going to put a clip in here. Yeah, EVILDEAD. Okay, next up we've got a UK thrash band called EVILE. These guys have been around for at least a decade now. Have 4 or 5, I think 5 full-length albums out. One of the new wave of traditional thrash metal bands. Very good stuff. And this is actually, I think, their 3rd record. I could be getting them out of order, but this is 5 Serpent's Teeth from, what's the year on this one here? Like I said, I should have looked these up beforehand. I didn't. I'll put it down below. Anyhow, this album has a big Metallica influence. Kind of Master of Puppets era Metallica. Progressive, longer songs, crunchy riffs, melodic, memorable. You know, you kind of drive down the road. You tend to put your pedal to the metal and you start headbanging while you're driving. That's the kind of stuff you're going to get with EVILE. And that's what's playing in the background right now. Vicious, biting, headbanging stuff. Great band from the UK, EVILE. Next up, we got more of a power thrash band, kind of little, leans more towards the power metal, the American power metal style. But this is a Canadian band called EIDOLON. And EIDOLON is a band that featured, of course, Sean and Glenn Drover, who went on to be with Megadeth. And yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't call this straightforward thrash metal whatsoever. There's a couple releases by them. This is a Parallel of Sound and Nightmare World. These guys released like 7, 8, 9 records, something like that. And of course, they went on to be with Megadeth, where they found a lot of their fame from. Fantastic power metal band from Canada, EIDOLON. All right, next up we've got, I believe this is an Italian band. Again, more like EIDOLON, these guys kind of fall more towards the power metal sound. This I call them melodic power thrash, and in fact, the sticker on the front of the CD actually says so. It's a melodic power thrash from ELDRITCH, and this is an Italian band, I believe. Very heavy, very. You know, you think power metal. There's 2 schools of power metal. There's the European power metal, which is more along the lines of, you know, the whole galloping Dungeons and Dragons keyboard kind of infested stuff. That's not this at all. This is more straightforward power metal, kind of along the lines of EXUMER's Metal Church, that kind of thing, you know, where it's very close to thrash metal, but more traditional metal mixed in with it. Very good release from these guys. This is ELDRITCH. And this is album's called Neighborhood Hell from 2006 on Limb Records. All right, next up we've got a Christian. I don't know, this band. Whenever I see people discussing, you know, thrash metal, I'm looking for good Christian thrash metal. This band comes up a lot, and I've seen this band live several times. I've shared a stage with them. Great guys. Eternal Decision, and that's what's playing in the background. They're often called a Metallica clone, but if you can hear it at all, they're really not a Metallica clone at all. The similarities is in the vocals, which you hear, got some of that James Hetfield sound in his vocals, but they really don't sound like Metallica. They're actually more Korn, like the first album from Korn, and Pantera inspired than anything Metallica. So to me, it's not really pure thrash metal. It's more groove-based heavy metal. These guys put out 3 albums. The second album's even more groove-based than this album. This is actually like a second pressing of their first album. There's actually like 2, 3, 4 different covers for this album. This was a Kling Records version back from like '97 or something like that, with the Japanese anime cover. Yeah, like I said, you can hear it in the background. It's, you know, it probably fit neatly into this category, but like I said, more groove inspired. If you like Pantera, meets Metallica, Eternal Decision. Like I said, second album, a little more groove oriented, and the third album went to more of an alternative style metal. So there you go, Eternal Decision. Next up, we have one of Canada's premier bands, and I wouldn't even call these guys a thrash metal, but these guys are one of the forefathers of thrash metal. This is Exciter. You just can't discuss thrash metal without talking about these guys. Just one of the best bands that come out of Canada. You know, I rank them up there with, you know, bands like Anvil, Annihilator. You know, just so many great bands came out of Canada, and Exciter is among the top of the heap. Power trio with vocalist and drummer Dan Beeler. being the main guy here, Dave. What's his name? John Ricky. John Ricky on guitar. This band has gone through different members over the years. Of course, everybody knows this is a classic album, Heavy Metal Maniac. Then there's Violence and Force, another heavy classic album with the classic album cover with the floating knife in the hand. And their third album, which is also considered a classic, Long Live the Loud. And then after that, the band started, they changed styles a little bit. There was some member changes. But I really think, despite how good those records are, and I do think they're classics, I think some of their more recent albums are great too. Of course, the original lineup is back and touring again. But for a while, there was this band here, this, a four-piece band under this, under the Cider name, with John Ricky being the only original member, Clammy on bass, and this stuff was just fantastic, and I loved it. Saw these guys, this era band live, and they were just great. Fantastic vocals. I'm trying to remember the name of the vocalist. Slipping my mind at the moment. The guy could sing for, if you really wanted to, he could be singing for, like, Judas Priest or Iced Earth. He just has that fantastic sound. What's his name? Kenny, I think? I can't find the name. Anyhow. Thrash Speed Burn. And the follow-up, Death Machine. Both great records. Highly recommend checking these out. If all you've ever heard is these early Exciter records, highly recommend checking out some of the later stuff. Alright, next up. Okay, another one. You can't discuss, excuse my nasally, crackly voice, just getting over being very sick, feeling much better, but still kind of have some of that going on, so excuse that. But next up, you can't discuss thrash metal without discussing these guys. These guys are one of the earliest and originators of the thrash metal sound is Exodus. And in past thrash metal, A through Z videos, I said I wasn't going to show major bands, but Exodus never got their due quite like, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer. Those bands are considered the top tier, and Exodus were always considered a second tier band, which is a shame because Exodus were really around at the same time and before some of those guys, with that sound. And of course, Bonded by Blood is considered a classic. This is one of those ones I have on vinyl and CD. Actually, I have two different versions of it on CD and a couple different versions of it on vinyl. It's just that good. Featuring original vocalist Paul Bailoff, of course, who was given his walking papers shortly afterwards. And then we got Pleasure of the Flesh with Steve Sosa, who, this is my favorite era of the band. This album here and this album here, these were like the soundtracks to my youth. I listened to these things over and over and over again. Just great records, both of them. Toxic Waltz is a heavy metal classic, what would you call it? A thrash metal anthem. Just a great song. So just both these albums are fantastic. And of course, Exodus is still around, and Steve Sosa is back singing with him again. Of course, Paul Bailoff died several years ago. He did record one live album with them in the, I think it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, can't even discuss thrash metal without discussing Exodus. Alright, and last up for this episode of Thrash Metal A through Z, a Norwegian band. And this is going to be the focus of this particular video. I always try to end with a band and show their whole discography. One of my favorite bands from that, letter. This time it's going to be Equinox. And Equinox, like I said, we're a Norwegian band. You think of Norway, you either think of two things. You either think of bands like Arch and TNT and that kind of more melodic heavy metal from the 80s, or you think of black metal. But they had their share of thrash metal bands too, and Equinox were one of the best. This is not an easy album to find on CD at all. This is off WIEDERSEHEN, and this was their debut on RCA Records, and this is just, like I said, up there to find, but great stuff if you can locate it. It's playing in the background right now is their third album. This is their second one. This is The Way to Go from, is there a year on here? Of course not. I think it's 1990, but I'm not 100% positive. This is This Way to Go. And then the album that's playing in the background, this is XEROX Success. And this album was a little, their first album, they definitely had something to prove. You know, it was fast, it was thrashy. They were trying to prove to the world that they were, you know, aggressive thrash, we are thrash metal. You know, they kind of had that attitude. With the next album, they got a little more progressive, a little more memorable, a little more catchy. And then by the time they got to the third album, they added a lot of melody to the sound. But it's still aggressive, still heavy, still thrash metal. And as you can hear, it still has those crunchy riffs, still has the fast tempos. Just fantastic thrash metal. Very unique vocal style. I think it's the Norwegian accent, although they're singing in English. Just great stuff. And then their last album they released was a big departure in sound. This is Labyrinth. And with this they went way more experimental. To me this kind of reminds me of like a Voivod, you know, where they just where Voivod left the thrash metal sound, went to more of a just straightforward progressive metal, progressive thrash style. That's what you get with this as well. I know a lot of Equinox fans don't care for this record, but I really, really like it. I really don't think they released a bad album. Yeah, it's definitely a departure from, you know, these first three records, but it's still very good stuff. As far as I know, that was the last thing they released. Equinox from Norway. So that's Thrash Metal A through Z, the letter E. Perhaps you know a band I should have included that I didn't include. Go ahead and leave a note below. Let me know what you think. Perhaps there's something that I haven't heard of that I should hear. I'd like to know about that too. It's a great way of discovering new music. So thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. And that's it for this edition. God bless. Stay strong.